Shafe, thank you for the video yesterday, and for the rest of the crew, thank you. Thank you for the comments. I took all of them as encouragement. All that further served to fortify my day after my self-imposed pep talk earlier that morning. I'll give you a little bit of background. That way you kind of know what you're working with. Maybe. And it also may further serve to let you know how much, Shafe, I really appreciate your opinion on this, the business end of it. Where I'm at, we pull in about $3 million a year, with a team of 9 people, including myself. I've been at this place for about 5 years, and I was at the shop previous for about 5 years. Prior to that, I was a department manager at the local Chevrolet dealership for 2 years, and then prior to that, I was a alternate fuels specialist at that same dealership, working on, say, like the Chevy Volt hybrids, the E85 ethanol vehicles. More or less moving around a lot, spending 17 some odd years as a line technician here and there. Worked at some 4x4 specialist shops doing welding and that sort of thing, and then most of it, though, as a technician, just fixing cars. More towards the electrical side, which, lucky for me, was that was a good segment to specialize in with how cars evolved. My move into the office from the shop, somewhat unusual in this day and age. And I think, to put a name to it, as I see some other information out on it, I had to deal with, and maybe I still do, with what I've read and understood as like an imposter syndrome. When you're in the office, you know, you're surrounded by people who have greater education. And, you know, later on, when I had the opportunity to be at a higher level of responsibility in the shop versus a singular department manager, which it was something I wasn't necessarily ready for. And it was something that, in a way, was a deal with the devil. The reason I got the opportunity, or was presented the opportunity, to be the general manager of an automotive shop was due to it being a close friend who started the business. Essentially, you know, handed the keys over to me. There's a lot of aspects beyond fixing a car that go into running a business and managing people. You know, when we're mechanics sitting around a table, most people think of the ultimate goal of your career as doing your own business. And there's things you think about, and there's things you assume as a given based on either your work habits or like an idealistic approach. The reality is very different. I think sometimes that if I had gone to school for business management, there are so many things that I had to discover the hard way running a business that are educated into you, or a framework that's educated into you. You know, like scale of labor, and essentially scale of labor is so fucking huge. And it wasn't until later on a mentor who did have that education introduced me to that. But I found my approaches to scale of labor to be hobbled by that ownership, which you are correct in what an owner looks at. 99 days in a row, you give outstanding and amazing service, and then the one day that something flubs up, that you get a 1-star Google review that the owner sees, and then that's what matters, or what seems to matter in the moment. Much like my last owner, my current owner is a colleague of mine. Ironically, when we met, actually, colleague is a poor. I'm as good of a friend as he can have, with his personality, in my opinion. But when we met 22 years ago, it was him as an apprentice tech, and I was a fresh master tech. I'm about 5 years older than him. So again, another person who, due to our friendship, I was given that position. Now, networking and reputations and that sort of shit opens the doors for those things. But deep down inside, it's something that I can't seem to fully comprehend, or can't seem to fully accept somehow. But you are correct. It's a matter of the mind. I saw a thing about feeling that you're always in trouble, and man, I found myself, I kind of had to self-assign that. But I digress. My current owner is a much harder working person than my last owner, and I paint a very rude picture of him, I think. And there's, of course, two sides to every story, as I'm guessing I have my own shortcomings, and if you were to talk to him, you may find similar criticisms, or where I've fallen short, or the justifications to what I perceive as micromanagement. And I am able to push back on him. In the moment, I'll catch him at his thing. The morning before the video I made that garnered your response, I pushed back immediately. I said, what we're dealing with is the results of being booked 2 weeks out. We just aren't allotting the room because of our current system, because of how far we are out. And it's near impossible to do the thing that you're trying to accomplish because we're so booked, and the mandate that you've given us to book. I can't control if I sell 4 hours on a job that I can't predict exactly 4 hours. It's either we're bringing work in or we fucking ain't, and we're short on people. And this is something that I did a long time ago, something that I learned from the scale of labor and business management. Once we're at, for us, just to give you an example, I don't want to get into the nuts and bolts too far because it gets fucking boring in a hurry, but once you're at 75% plus productivity, meaning all of your guys are doing 30 to 35 hours worth of work on average, it's time to add a person. It's time to increase the capacity. Now, whether you perceive there to be a bottleneck in the office, that's something that we're always fucking balancing out. For me, personally, the thing that I'm finding with myself is, in the moment, I put my fears, my anxieties, and all that other shit for 9 to 10 hours a day. I put it in some weird fucking box that I don't feel, I don't look at, and I operate in this objective, detached mode. I'm believing that I need to do a better job of finding a way to go back into that other box and unpack it in a healthy way. And I liked your input on the meditation. It's something I'm still trying to wrap my head around. Maybe the meditation or something along those lines would allow those those stored up feelings and those stored up anxieties to sort of dissipate as I disengage that persona that I built. So there's the background. Further, my owner, he's a mechanic, just like I am. He gets out in the shop, he turns wrenches, he comes into the office, he fills gaps. He's even more of a catch-all than I am, and some of this is a result of meetings that he and I have had that I fucking somehow neglect or forget about. Where I said, listen, my shortcoming is that I'm too far being a customer advocate, and the shop as a result falls short. So he's worked hard to adapt to that and save me from going too far in that direction. So, all right, and I really appreciate you sharing what you have going on with your situation and everything too, man. And thank you, and thank everybody. It's I feel fortunate to have this sounding board. I appreciate y'all.